presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
All right. Welcome to Soccer in 60 on this fabulous Turkey Day here in beautiful Southern California. I'm your host, Tiki Tim Kolatz, and joining me today is my fabulous co-host, Philly. Philly, I hope you're not completely stuffed as we have a healthy serving of footy on this thirsty Thanksgiving.
Tim, I'm glad you should mention that because I'm not doing so good. Not doing so good whatsoever. On one hand, yes, it's Thanksgiving. The biggest party of the year, arguably, next to New Year's. And I do find myself thankful for a lot of things. One major thing we will talk about later on this podcast in the Empire Strykers portion of things. But still miserable and upset about LAFC's loss in the postseason. I already addressed this wound and this PTSD on my Defenders of the Bank podcast. I thought it was done, dusted, over with. But with roster moves being announced today and you making me relive this past weekend's playoff debacle, I've, to quote the 1990s rock band Citizen King, I've seen better days.
Yes, well, there will be better days for you going forward. And you know what? I'm stoked for today's show, though, is we've got a great guest coming on today by the name of Daniel Gonzalez. And those of us here in the greater LA know that name well, and we're going to have a great time with him, I'm sure. Philly, well, my bird's coming out of the oven in about 61 minutes, so let's take a look back, but also, as you mentioned, a look forward on what's going on with LAFC.
There's nothing going on with LAFC. not anymore. Not after Saturday. Not after
being eliminated.
Not after another bloody loss to the Galaxy. I'm sorry, not to Seattle. We thought we were going to play the Galaxy. But look, it's Thanksgiving. Before we get into things, look, one of my favorite things to eat on Thanksgiving, and I'll tell you this, it's not Thanksgiving related, and I know I digress, but I'm just trying to, postpone the inevitable. Turkey is what people eat, pumpkin pie, cranberry sauce, blah, 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 blah. But the one time a year I splurge on this thing, and you're going to laugh, the one thing I absolutely look forward to the most on Thanksgiving, besides a serving of this beautiful liquid adult beverage, is Velveeta shells and cheese, man. I love Velveeta shells. I only eat it on Thanksgiving. It is the grossest, nastiest, chemically created cheese. But man, I love Velveeta shells and cheese. What's your go-to?
You know what? There is nothing like processed cheese food on top of a old 5-month-old pasta. Nothing like it. You know what? My favorite thing is the day after Thanksgiving, I bought a waffle maker specifically to make leftover Thanksgiving Day waffles. It's the only time I bring out my waffle maker. I put everything in it, stuffing, mashed potatoes, the turkey, the gravy, and I make waffles out of my Thanksgiving leftovers. That's my favorite thing about Thanksgiving. Love it.
That's fantastic.
Fantastic. Right. So after, I know it's a brutal, but you know what? LAFC had an amazing season, and they did get eliminated by Seattle, and brutal as it is. Let's talk about it just a little bit. Let's talk about the game, and then let's talk a little bit about what we see going forward. There's a lot of contracts coming out and things like that. And as you mentioned a minute ago, there have been some roster moves. So really what happened during that game, Philly? Give me a little bit of analysis as to what happened during that game against Seattle.
All right. If we have to tear the wound off, this is the last day I want to talk about this game.
Last time, Philly, I promise, buddy.
All right. Look, I'll tell you this. I'll set the table. LAFC went 8-0-2 in the last 10 games against the Sounders. 4-0-0 this season. But you could kiss all that nonsense goodbye. Even the fact that the last time the Sounders did beat LAFC was back on May the 14th, 2021. Let's put it this way. Nothing happened in the first half. Both teams didn't really do anything in terms of trying to go after goals. The XG for LAFC after the first 45 was 0.21. For Seattle, it wasn't any better at 0.38. LAFC a total of 4 shots with none on target. Seattle with a total of 3 shots and 1 on target. And I am not an X's and O's kind of guy, but you're not going to get things done that way. But But the soccer gods were going to reward us. Or were they?
You would hope so.
51st minute, Tim. Edward Atuesta to Matty Bogusz. Connects with Ryan Hollingshead as he's falling down. LAFC goes up 1-0. Finally, we broke the goose egg deadlock. Finally, we get to rejoice. Finally, we're going to silence the Sounders. And then guess what? Another 8 minutes later, we scored again.
Oops.
On our own goal. On our own
Yeah,
goal.
I saw that, and that was brutal. That was just absolutely brutal. Hugo Lloris had by the time he saw that the ball had deflected, it was going right past him. That was just, there is no other word than just, it was a brutal, brutal goal. Own goal against LAFC.
I mean, look, it was a bad clearance that led to that opportunity for the Sounders. Look, yeah, Maxime Chanot, who had been playing a great game defensively up to that point, just gets caught in an unfortunate situation where there's a pass that comes in and goes directly off his foot. And yes, it was a bad own goal. And while there's many people out in LAFC land that really wanted to throw Maxime Chanot under the bus and blame him for the loss, that wasn't it. In fact, I felt beyond bad for Maxime Chanot because true to what I said, he'd been playing a great game up to that point.
Yeah, and he almost redeemed himself about 10 minutes later on a really nice shot inside the box. He almost could have been gone from GOAT to hero. Just 10, 15 minutes later, he could have easily put LAFC up 2-1. But the soccer gods weren't looking down at all.
Well, I don't know if it's just the soccer gods that were looking down. I think the internet gods are looking down on you because you're starting to sound like a combination of Max Headroom and AOL dial-up. So hopefully y'all got to hear Tim. I'll proceed. Hopefully the Wi-Fi at that point is good. The bandwidth works. I get it. Everybody's home for the most part. So look, Tim, LAFC had every opportunity to go out there and win this game. There was a really great opportunity for Aaron Long to come through and do things. He had a pass that came into him like off of a cross. He had he bounced it off of himself a couple times and went for a bicycle kick. But Stephen Fry was there to deny him. Stephen Fry made monster save after monster save. 90th plus 5th minute, he does it again as Ryan Hollingshead nearly scores himself a brace. We go into extra time at this point. Make a couple of different substitution changes. Going back and forth. Stephen Fry, like a fine wine, got better with age. LAFC's had a lot of success against Stephen Fry in the past. But Stephen Fry was a man on a mission. So many opportunities for LAFC to score, but he prevented everything. And then finally, in the 109th minute, Jordan freaking Morris. Like the Yankees fans in the Red Sox used to say Bucky freaking Dent back in the late 70s. LAFC fans this year are going to yell, Jordan.
No, we can't say that on live air there, Philly. So good job on saying Jordan freaking Morris. Yeah, the guy is just this goal is how does this goal come about, Philly? I mean, he gets in this ball and he just makes a hard turn, makes that hard left U-turn and just rips this ball by Hugo Lloris before he has a chance to even react.
Look, it was just a bad clearance in the box. I think it was Jesus David Maria who finally got his first start since the Leagues Cup final. He did get hurt in that game and was out for a little while, which is why LAFC brought in Marlon. But he had it. He had Lewis O'Brien on him, spun him to the right, went upper right-handed corner. And as I like to say on Empire Strykers broadcast, top shelf where my Uncle Franz keeps the schnapps. And I've got that schnapps in my hand right now. Cheers to you, Uncle Shex. But that was it. That was it. And still, though, LAFC had a couple of opportunities. Ryan Hollingshead got denied by Stephen Fry. Denny Bawanga gets denied by Stephen Fry. And that's it. Seattle moves on. The underdog, I would say, moves on to, go against the team that you're going to be talking about pretty soon. But the season is over. It's done, sadly. Roster changes have been announced, and really quickly, I will say that LAFC co-president and general manager John Thorrington was named MLS Sporting Executive of the Year. As much as I love John Thorrington and think he deserves that award, I think maybe they should have waited till the end of the season because, look, I have to give flowers where flowers are due. Will Kuntz, formerly of LAFC, did some amazing things with the LA Galaxy, and they're still moving forward in the postseason. LAFC, on the other hand, are done. Their gooses are cooked. They're going to get to enjoy Thanksgiving feast, desserts, all that stuff. And I guess Tim really is having problems with the soccer gods. So I will carry on. Now, I mentioned that John Thornton is the MLS exec of the year. Hello. Welcome back, Tiki Tim. We should start calling you AOL Tim because of your 56K dial-up. But I will say that LAFC is exercising on a few players: Sergi Palencia, Eddie Segura, Hugo Lloris, David Ochoa. They declined contract options on Vela, Kamara, Luis Mueller, Tommy Musto, a couple of LAFC 2 players that moved up. Marlon, Diego Rosales. But they're still going to be talking about it. Yeah, I do hear some talking too. I'm glad that I'm not the only schizophrenic one here in the chat, and I know it's not me. But let's put it this way. The club is still going to chat with Long, Murillo, Marlon, Eric Dueñas. What I can say with a fact is that Edward Atuesta, his loan expiration from Palmeiras is over, so we're going to be saying goodbye to him. He was a big part of our history. So the only LAFC players that are still under contract for 2025, Lloris, Hasal, Ochoa. Defenders, Bombino, Luca Bombino, Omar Campos, Maxime Chinot, Lorenzo Della Valle, he missed all season with an ACL, Ryan Hollingshead, Sergi Palencia, Eddie Segura. Who else is also in contract? Midfielders, Matty Bogusz, Timothy Tillman, David Martinez. The forwards that LAFC retains, Tomas Angel, who played USL for the majority of the season, Danny Bouanga, Olivier Giroud, Kike Oliveira, Nathan Ordaz, and Adrian Wabowo. Bet you didn't know, Tim, that we sent a LAFC 2 player to Bayern Munich. Bajang Darbo went to Bayern Munich. So that's what LAFC's roster is looking like. And there needs to be some changes made for LAFC to be competitive, but U.S. Open Cup, that win, while we can say it's a great achievement for a club that's greedy and ambitious, with MLS Cup being the number one goal on everybody's mind, with them losing to Seattle in the postseason at BMO again, which is reminiscent of 2019's Western Conference Final. I have to say that this season was a failure for LAFC because they didn't accomplish the goal, which is MLS Cup. They won the West, competed towards the Supporters Shield, won a U.S. Open Cup, but not winning the MLS Cup constitutes as a failure in my eyes.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The not making it to at least the Western Conference Final, and especially with the number of players that they added, like you had mentioned, Olivier Giroud, Vela towards the end. I'm wondering if that was just some of the problems maybe, and you didn't have that cohesiveness with the team. But let's hop over to the LA Galaxy, right? So unfortunately for Philly, the LA Galaxy lit the lamp early and often as they take down Minnesota United for a final score of 6-2. There were some tight times for the Galaxy, but they didn't really break away until late in the first half and really truly in the second half. But I tell you what, Philly, when you get a lamplighter 1 minute into the game, you're doing something right. And
you stand corrected. It's 27 seconds in.
27 seconds. I mean, in Minnesota, we've talked about some of the way these teams have been lining up to try to stop the speed of the Killer Peas and Jovalic. And interestingly, Minnesota came out in a 5-4-1 lineup specifically to do that, right? They came out, they lined up, they got 100 guys behind the ball the entire time. And like you said, 27 seconds in, they're toast. They're down a goal, and the crowd, which is already raucous, gets even more raucous. The joy and admiration for the team kind of dwindles down a little bit in the 6th minute as Minnesota does get the equalizer pretty much right away. But the reality is the Galaxy were just a better team, right? Minnesota had 9 guys coming back from international duty. They looked pretty good, but you could tell 40 minutes in that Minnesota, they were cooked. They were not going to have a chance in this game after about 35 minutes.
And I'm stunned because Minnesota was a hot team. I mean, lost only 1 game in their last 10, and that's postseason included. They played the Galaxy really well in both matchups during the regular season. They tied earlier in the season, and then it took a late-minute goal, which we mentioned on our last podcast, for the Galaxy to win. I really was under the impression that Minnesota United was going to be able to play the Galaxy. And a lot of pundits, not just people like myself, but the people from MLS Extra Time were really under the impression that the Loons were going to bring the upset. But I mean, ever since the Galaxy beat LAFC at the Rose Bowl, they've been a completely different team, a dangerous team, a team that never loses at home and has not lost at home. And now with LAFC being knocked out of the postseason, the Western Conference Finals is in Carson. And if they move on, the MLS Cup Finals are in Carson. And if history repeats itself and the Galaxy continue to produce the results that they had been producing, then they stand a very darn good chance at winning the MLS Cup. I really thought the Loons were going to pull the upset, Tim, but after seeing how badly they had destroyed, dismantled, decimated the opposition, they scored 9 goals in 2 games against the Colorado Rapids. They scored 6 in 1 game against Minnesota United. This is a scary, scary team. And as a big LAFC supporter, and you can tell from a multitude of reasons, my spot, I run a pod and I'm there at BMO all the time. I don't know whether or not if LAFC did beat Seattle, whether or not they would have been able to beat the Galaxy. Of course, it's a crapshoot. BMO Stadium, it's the 2 top teams in the West, if not in Major League Soccer, going at one another. But the way the Galaxy have been playing, they're a scary, scary team. And you know what? Seattle's going to have their work cut out for them. And either New York Red Bull or Orlando, whoever makes it to the final, will also have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, and you'd mentioned the Seattle game coming up. It's going to be this weekend, Saturday night, the 30th at 7:00, which is more like 7:20 once they get done with all the pregame hoopla. I think the biggest thing for Seattle or really for the Galaxy, is to not let Seattle stick around. The LAFC let Seattle stick around. They gifted them that own goal, and they didn't capitalize on their opportunities when they had it. And the Galaxy are going to have to keep that speed. I know that Seattle kind of shut down some of the speed that LAFC did, but the reality is that the Galaxy are a much quicker team. They're faster. They're better on the break than LAFC was. And if you get a guy like Peck out on the far right-hand side, on one of his goals over the weekend, he took the ball 60 yards, gave a stiff arm to 2 Minnesota defenders, and put a ball far post to salt away the game. He puts them up 4-2. The game's effectively over at that point. And Seattle's going to just have a lot of difficulty with that. I think the thing is going to be whether Stephen Fry comes up with pulls a Tim Howard and comes out with 15 or 18 saves to kind of make this game close.
No, Stephen Fry just needs to be Stephen Fry. The Stephen Fry that he was against LAFC. The Stephen Fry that stonewalled Denny Bouanga, Kike Oliveira, Matty Bogusz, Ryan Hollingshead. He just needs to be himself. Tim Howard is a pundit. Stephen Fry doesn't want to be a pundit because that means his day in the sun is over. But it's not just so much Peck, Tim. Ricky Pooch dissected Minnesota United, going over the top of their midfield, connecting on some of the most amazing passes you can possibly think of that led to these Galaxy goals. Ricky Pooch is just unreal. I hate him because he's not an LAFC player. But he's just
amazing.
Fun to watch.
Yeah, he's fun to watch, and the fact that he can just put passes where nobody else can. I'm not going to put him in the level of somebody that plays out on the Florida Gulf Coast, but what I will say is that he is the best one out here. So let's get into keep staying on the Galaxy, but we have a very special guest today, Philly, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Our guest today is a former goalkeeper with the Argentina U20 national team who played pro indoor soccer in the U.S. for nearly a decade. He then filled different roles, most frequently those of a goalkeeper coach and or assistant coach with various teams, most prominently the U.S. U19s and MLS outfits Colorado Rapids, Chivas USA, now defunct, and the LA Galaxy. After spending most of 2024 as the head coach of National Independent Soccer League's Irvine Zeta FC, He recently joined the technical staff of the MASL's Empire Strykers. It's our great pleasure to have with us Daniel Gonzalez. Coach Gonzalez, welcome to Soccer in 60.
Welcome. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, all the hula. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. Now, while we have you, I'd like to start by talking a little LA Galaxy, your former team and the team that's going to represent the Western Conference against Seattle. Now, through past struggles, the Galaxy always stuck with Greg Vanney, not always, but recently have stuck with Greg Vanney as head coach, and it's paying off. The team has been excellent throughout 2024 and just found their way into the Western Conference Finals, and which is, believe it or not, the first time they've been there since 2014. Wow. Now, Kobe Jones told us the main difference from previous seasons is the money spent on quality attackers. Would you agree, or is there something else that you're seeing that's made the Galaxy such a better team?
No, I agree with you. I think the science that they have, Ricky Pugh, and all the people they had is very good. I think Peck is unbelievable. They have got really good forwards, really good people that want to go forward. They want to play an attacking style soccer. But also, I think Greg Vanney has done a great job. I was the pleasure to work with Greg Vanney at Chivas USA when he was assistant coach with Robin Fraser. And Greg was always a very different kind of coach. He's a millennium coach, I think, even if he's older. I think he's the kind of person that understands the game in a different level the other coaches do. And especially attacking, like look at what he did at Toronto. And now he's doing it at Galaxy. When he got the players that he needs, I think he's a fantastic coach, and the players really playing like a very good orchestra right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg Vanney winning the treble with Toronto FC in 2017, doing good things with the Galaxy, with younger players, not aging superstars like had been the MO. Now, I said in the intro that you're a former top-level goalkeeper. Now, that position has been one of concern for the Galaxy over the years. Now, prior to this season, John McCarthy was brought in from crosstown rivals LAFC and has been the undisputed starter. What do you make of his performances in 2024, and do you feel he's done enough to earn the trust of the coaching staff for 2025 and possibly years to come?
Yes, I think he does. I think Kevin Hartman has done a great job with him in training to be ready, training to be always in a good shape and in a good state of mind to play games. I think he's been the difference from the past goalkeeping. I was at the time at Galaxy when we had Pineda was very good. We also had Donovan Ricketts. And then other times that we have all the keepers, but they went to the caliber. Like Cudicini wasn't the caliber of Ricketts or Pineda. But I think the difference is they sniff a good player across town as a goalkeeper, and they need a goalkeeper for several years. And I think they find finally a guy that can be a starter and at the same time can produce results.
Coach, thanks for joining us today. So the Galaxy are just 2 wins away from winning their first MLS Cup in over a decade, or in a decade. Next up are the Seattle Sounders, who sent shockwaves around the league by ousting LAFC at BMO Stadium. With the Sounders now coming back into town to take on the Galaxy, what do you feel will be the key to that matchup, and what do you expect to see from both teams?
Well, let me tell you something. That, for example, what they did to Minnesota, I think Minnesota wasn't really prepared for it. I think that Minnesota was a team that when you play in the semifinals and you lose 6-2, it's a very, I don't think it says very well about the team that you play. I think the Sounders is a different team. It's a team that defends better. They're going to defend much, much better than Minnesota did. I think it's an opportunistic team. He has a weapon like Morris in front. We can run anybody and go to goal and finish. I think the short game should be the Galaxy winning, but I think it's going to be a little different game than it was against Minnesota. I don't think there's going to be many goals like that. I think it's going to be a game is going to be more on the even kill for a while. And I tell you, God forbid the Seattle scores, because I think then Galaxy will have a different problem they haven't faced to this time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. They're just going to shore up that defense, and Galaxy are going to be in for it. During your time with the Galaxy and with Chivas USA, you worked with some MLS legends and with some of the very best goalkeepers in all of CONCACAF, such as Tim Malia, Dan Kennedy, Zach Thornton, Donovan
Yeah.
Ricketts, that's been mentioned, Jaime Pinedo. Since we cover the Galaxy on this show, I wonder where Ricketts and Pinedo rank in terms of the very best you've ever worked with, and also how they compared with each other.
Well, I tell you, I think Dan Kennedy with the Chivas USA was fantastic. I think if you look at the Chivas USA, we didn't have a great team, but we had we had a team that struggles for a while. I remember my first season with Chivas, we lost 11 games, 1-0. And if it wasn't for Dan Kennedy, it could have been 5-0. So to go a little more about it, Dan Kennedy, I don't think that being in one of the teams that was in the bottom of the league, he made the All-Star game, for example, in 2012. So it was amazing. I think the Dan Kennedy for me is one of the best keepers I worked with. The other one was Marcus Hanneman. I don't know if you remember in Colorado Rapids when it started.
Mm-hmm.
I was brought to Colorado. I worked there for 3 years, and in my first year I worked with him very much, and then we sold him to Fulham. So it was amazing. It was one of the first keepers for $1 million tag. It was sold to Fulham in England. I think the next one would be Donovan Ricketts. I think the Jamaican was unbelievable. Big guy, very quick. I think there is one Galaxy won the championship. Jaime Pineda was another one. And I think it was another keeper that was very good and then faded kind of away was Clement Diop. I had him in the Galaxy 2. He was a French guy, very good keeper. Good frame, very good ball handling. It was very good. But he was unlucky, that it faded away. He was too young when he started at Galaxy, when we started in the first team in 2015. So.
Now, you mentioned it, Coach, the Colorado Rapids. Let's move on from the LA Galaxy for just a little bit. And now just looking at this window, I think this is the first time I've ever been outnumbered by LA Galaxy people on this podcast. It's 2-1. You served as goalkeeper, Coach, with the Colorado Rapids in the early years of MLS. Now, a lot has been said about the growth of the league since its inception in 1996. But you are uniquely qualified to comment since you worked in it very early on and then just a few years ago. How significant has the progress really been, in your opinion?
It's been years light. If you look at it, what we have 3 owners. Phil Anschutz was owner of 3 teams at that time. The teams were valued between $3 and $5 million. Now the teams are valued $200 million. If you look at the growth with the game, and the game in MLS was unbelievable. So look at right now, we have stars that we could never bring before. We never had the budget to do that. Now we have the budget to do it. So it's a big different league for what it was, and I think it's going to continue getting better. I think sometimes if you look at the past, we didn't have enough of the good players all put together in one team. There were pucks of players in Chicago, pucks of players in Galaxy, pucks of players in Colorado, and DC United. But now you have teams where really are pretty much full with good talent and then good benches. So it's a big difference.
Yeah. So, Coach, in 2017, you oversaw a season as Galaxy goalkeeper coach in which 2 guys split time between the pipes in Brian Rowe and Clement Diop. Even the third string keeper, John Kempin, got several games in for the team. In your opinion, when it's competitive like that, can it ever be a good thing, or is it usually a bad sign when one guy can't build that confidence week to week and be the clear number one?
Well, I tell you, we experienced a very difficult situation at Galaxy because we were working with Brian Rowe and Clement Diop, but we're doing well. But the team wasn't doing well. We had many injuries when we started. So by the time the Kurt on Alpha was let go, we won 5 games, lost 10, and tied 4. So, and Brian Rowe was having a little injuries, Clement Diop too. So from the get-go, I tell you, John Kempin is a quality goalkeeper in the league. I thought it was great to have 3 goalkeepers like that because if you remember, when we played John Kempin in Columbus, he stopped 2 PKs in one game. So I think 3 of them were very hard. They were good. I think it was hard to see who the best was because they were very, very well. It had to deal with some injuries that Brian Rowe had. Brian Rowe was very good too. I think Clement Diop was coming up to become very good, and then he got another injury, and then he was ejected with a red card in the game, I think. So we had a lot of problems that we had to just put our third string keeper. For me, I thought they were very similar. There wasn't big difference between them. And John Kemper was a guy that would stay late to work and keep working. And he proved it against Columbus with the 2 PK save that he did in that game, and earned a tie for us in that game. That was amazing.
Now,
Coach,
it's
a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Coach, one thing that we do all have in common is the Empire Strykers. So let's transition on over to that. Now, you're part of the technical staff. You recently joined. Now, last season, indoor rookies Brandon Gomez and Brian Orozco split the time in net. Then over the summer, the club brought back 2021 MASL Goalkeeper of the Year, Clayson DeLima. After Orozco came into his own in the second half of last season, and Gomez recently looking outstanding for Mexico's arena national team, I wonder if you can share how all three have looked in training without giving too much away, of course.
I tell you, they've been fantastic. Three of them, I think they're quality indoor goalkeepers, very quality. I think they're great. One thing I would say is I think bringing Clayson Lima back is good. I think he's a very quality goalkeeper also. It's going to be hard for a head coach to pick up who you want to start in the first day in December 6th. So it's going to be difficult. I think, the three of them has qualities. I think if you look at it, the perfect keeper will be three of them together. They all have strengths. The other was lacking a little bit, but in reality, both three of them are very good. Very, very good. They've been playing well. The team is doing well. I think the team is going to be different. I think if you look at the team last season and you look at the team this season, it's going to see a lot of difference. I think we have a team that's more oriented to a system of play that we try to implement on them. They're eager to make sure that doesn't happen what happened last year. And I'm as a coach, I want to make sure that will never happen. That will never happen what happened last season.
I would say with all the talent that we have on our side right now in Empire, we have what they would call caviar problems, and that's not a bad thing. Now,
no, yeah, you're right. You're totally right.
Yeah, I don't like caviar, but obviously it's a luxurious thing, and that's what we have. Now, I mentioned you recently joined the Strykers technical staff after serving as head coach with Nice's side Irvin Zeta FC. It's your first time coaching in the top-tier indoor soccer league after numerous stints with elite outdoor teams, including in MLS and at the college level. Now, talk to me a bit about how the opportunity with Empire came about and what ultimately led you to say yes and give this a go.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if you know, but I played indoor soccer for 17 years. For many times, I played for one of the best teams in the league. It was Canton Invaders. That team was is in the Hall of Fame, 45 wins, 5 losses. I was interested when I heard about the opportunity. They would like to see me for the reason that I played before in the league, and I wasn't really knowing how much the MAGA has, the league has grown, how good it was, and I get to I called Jimmy. Was a coach I know from the past, and I told him I was interested. And when I was at Zeta, and he said, "Yeah, we'll talk later on." And during the season at Zeta, I talked to him several times. We decided he wanted to come and see me coach. He came and see me coach, and then it was great that he said to give me the opportunity to be now with the head coach Obasi, okay, and Chuy. I think we have It's a very three good group. I think we're doing a very good things. I mean, everybody else choosing the goalkeepers and doing the assistant coach with the coach. And I think we work together well. And I think the players see that. They think it's a big difference from last year. They see that the things are organized. That we're a little more in tune with what we need to do as a team. And I think Obasi came up with a good mentality, good idea to make us a better team.
Tim, you good?
Yeah, Tim.
Fantastic. So players, yep. So coach, players talk a lot about the transition from outdoor to indoor being really challenging. I wonder if it's similar as a coach. I mean, do you feel very long? Have those helped you out? Give us some insight on where you're at in your personal evolution as a coach in the MASL.
Well, I was very lucky to have a great coach when I played. Was Timo Lekoski, who was a legend in the indoor soccer. He coached Cleveland Crunch. He coached many good teams in the indoor league in the old time. So I learned a lot from him, watching him train us and what stuff he did. I think it's different. It's a different game. But if you're a good player, you can do the transition easier than if you're a so-so player. So I think, right now we have players that they did good at outstanding outdoors, and they get in their feet to understand how the indoor game goes. But I think overall, it's a different animal if you look at it, because you have a lot of balls that are play back. You got to make sure that you got balance in the team. When outdoors, you can get away with some things that you can in indoors. So when you do that in indoors, you get punished. So those are the things, that we're trying to make sure that people understand what they're playing, and to know that it's things that we can do and things that we should not do to be successful. And I think, it translates to the game. I think if you were a good outdoor player, you have a good mind for soccer, I think, for football, then you can really make the transition a little easier. It's not easy, but it's not really difficult if you play before the high level. Perfect example is Marco Fabian.
Oh, Marco Fabian, what a fantastic player he's been, and it's been a joy to call his games now.
Yeah, it's amazing. I look at it right now and I'm still amazed by what he does.
Yeah, and the fact that he hadn't played indoor before and he still thinks he's relatively new at this, it goes to see, it just speaks volumes as to his humbleness. Now, let me ask you one final question, Coach, because it's Thanksgiving after all, and I know you got better things to do than hang out with me and Tim. So
I love it, guys. This is great. I love it.
Well, we're gonna have plenty more time together, Coach, because I don't know
Awesome.
if you know, I'm your play-by-play guy, so you're gonna be seeing a whole lot of me.
Yeah, I'm so happy. That's great.
I appreciate it. Now, Brazilians have been a major part of the history of the Major Arena Soccer League, which is not surprising given the level of talent that comes out of the country. Now, looking at some of the obvious parallels to your native Argentina, I wonder if you think that the Argentine talent pool is one the MASL and a team like the Empire Strykers could tap into more, even if it means having to circumvent the visa issues affecting a lot of players from Central and South America.
Yes, I totally agree. I think the Argentine players are good also. I think you'll be surprised if we could bring maybe one or two Argentinians here in the future. It would be absolutely fantastic. I think, that many of them in Argentina, they play in the first divisions and they play in second division. They have played football sala, what they call it there. And I think they've done very, very well. So I think it will be a good market to tap for us to get a couple of players in the future. Yes, for sure. I don't know, but if you know that I play against one of the best Brazilian players on the league that play indoors, Batata from Brazil. Was unbelievable forward. So you could tell that he played soccer on the beach all day long. He was amazing. It was the kind of guy that went, wow, you look at him doing stuff. He would score bicycle kicks indoors. That's how good he was.
Yeah, no, phenomenal talent. Definitely seen of him, heard of him, talked to him, enjoy his presence. Now, Coach, again, I appreciate your time. I want to make sure that you get to spend the rest of your time with your family because I don't want you getting in trouble with anybody. I know how my wife is. She'll get to meet her, when the season comes.
Yes, my family is in Argentina right now. My son is training over there. He's 17, and my wife is visiting the parents, so I'm by myself. So I'm okay.
Well, then I need to invite you over for steaks and whiskeys and cigars. Shoot, what are you doing? Come hang out with me and Panda.
Yeah, we'll do that sometime. Yeah, okay. Let me know.
All right. Well, again, Coach, we certainly appreciate your time. Good luck this season. Looking forward to having many more meaningful conversations with you and having a lot of fun. Cheers to a successful season. And once again, happy Thanksgiving.
Cheers to you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, team.
Cheers, Coach.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Oh, what a great time. I like him. He's going to be fun on the Strykers technical staff. I think he's going to be a great addition.
Yeah, no, everybody that we've added within Empire from the top down, I'm excited for this season. And what also makes me supremely excited, something that I'm very thankful for, is the streaming partnerships that we now have. So it was announced that a lot of our games were going to be put on YouTube TV under the MASL side. But not at Empire Strykers, baby. Every single broadcast will be on CBS
no way, baby.
Network. And you're going to get to hear me on and Panda and the Doctor every home game on CBS Sports Golazo Network. If there's anything I'm thankful for, is that opportunity. The MASL and the league commissioners saw to it fit that we had the very first CBS Sports Golazo Network last season in a game against the San Diego Sockers. It was the St. Patrick's Day game. What was cool about it was the fact that CBS Sports Golazo appreciated it. And then they added more games. And then they added the entire playoffs. Then we got to call the finals down in Chihuahua, Mexico. I was on the call with the Doctor. And now 40 games across the entire league with all Empire games being on CBS Sports Golazo Network. As much as it upsets me that LAFC is no longer in the postseason, my face and voice gets to be on Golazo Network. So it's time to break hearts and set trends worldwide, baby.
Oh, it's going to be great hearing you on every home game on the Golazo Network, plus a couple of away games they're going to produce and have. So 14 games, 14 out of the 40 across the Golazo Network are going to be Empire Striker games. It's going to, Gunnar said 16. Sorry. There's all 12 home games and 4 away games. I apologize. Thank you very much for that, producer Gunnar. So 16 out of the 40 that are going to be on Golazo Network are going to be Empire games. And that's just incredible after not having a very prominent television or streaming partner over the last couple of years.
100%. And now we're fortunate enough to be on that platform. And that's, due to the credit of our commissioners, Shep Messing, JP Della Camera, and Keith Tozer. And of course, the owners, a particular managing partner of the Empire Strykers, Jeff Burham. We got this deal done. Things are good. And it's just another platform to put the MASL on a broader, more global scale. I can't wait. December 13th against Utica City, your first Empire Strykers broadcast on CBS Sports Golazo Network.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome to see that game. And we'll be there. I'll be there in person to listening to you. And with that, we can go over to Orange County. So there's not a lot going on. All of the players had their exit interviews over the last couple of weeks, and everybody's gone about their business. But there's no word yet on Coach Stone. So hopefully Christmas will come maybe early for the Orange County boys, but it might take a while for anything to really, truly come out. But as you know, we're very well connected to Orange County. And if it happens at Orange County, you'll know about it on that following Thursday, if not checking one of our Instagram feeds. The other thing is that I'm thinking is that Orange County has got a lot of guys under contract under multi-year deals, but I would not be surprised if some guys come looking from the European leagues or even the MLS come looking for guys like goalkeeper Colin Shuttler. He was drafted by Dallas early on, coming out, and to see an MLS team come back after him. That and Ethan Zubak, as his finishing got really, really good. Philly, I'm just wondering, what do you think about some of these Orange County boys coming up to MLS or indeed going over to Europe in the coming months?
Yeah, so first and foremost, folks, if you're having any issues on the bandwidth side, we certainly appreciate that. Clearly, our Ethernets are drunk and stuffed on Thanksgiving Day fiestas. So if you're having any connectivity issues, we sincerely apologize and thank you so much for your patience. Bad bandwidth, bad cranberry sauce, bad in this case, adult. Yeah, but to answer your question, though, Tim, look, players like Dylan Powers, Ethan Zubak, Cameron Dunbar, they had time with Major League Soccer organizations. And Orange County Soccer Club is pretty closely tied to Rangers Football Club in the Scottish Premier League. And there's a lot of talent. Bryce Jameson being one of them. He's a fantastic player. I can easily see Colin Shuttler grace the roster of an MLS team. Brian Olowski, hopefully he comes back from injury. There's a lot of talent in the USL. And I have to say, that's a league you can't sleep on. So there's some top-level talent that, for reasons unbeknownst to me, has slipped through the cracks and found their way to the USL. But I, for one, like the USL. It's a very fun and competitive league. So I do think that there are players on Orange County that are worth looking at. Cameron Dunbar and Bryce, without a doubt, these are kids that we should see at the highest level, at the very least in the United States.
I'm right there with you. I think Dunbar is going to get the call, and Bryce Jamison coming out of the academy program that they put together. I really do see these guys getting to that next level. And like you said, the USL Championship is a great league to watch, and season tickets are on sales. The Orange County boys have already sold out 2 complete sections of the championship stadium for the coming season. So tickets, while they're going fast and the season is a few months away, but I bet you they sell out probably half of that stadium. And with only 5,500 seats in the place, you better get them now.
Yeah. And speaking of which, like, there's one last thing I do want to mention about Orange County Soccer Club. The USL champions were crowned on November the 23rd, and it was the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. They beat upstart Rhode Island FC by a score of 3-0. So while it hurt to have Orange County Soccer Club get ousted from the postseason, I'm glad it was against a team that we took down to the wire. We made it a much more of a competitive game than Rhode Island FC. So I wanted to make sure that we highlighted that. I would rather get beat by the eventual champion than to not.
Right. I'm right there with you on that one. The Colorado was an amazing team. They played unreal down the stretch. 3rd seed in the West, just really, really strong guys. So on that note, what's going on with Angel City? They've been bombing around here for a little while, and there's a lot going. It is the off season, but there's a pretty big contract extension that came out of Angel City just this past week.
To me, the most talented, I don't want to say the most talented because there was a lot of talent on Angel City, but Claire Emsley had a fantastic season this year for Angel City. And that attracted the attention of her native country, Scotland's national team, where she got the call up and has the opportunity to go train with the Tartan Army, so to speak. Not the supporters group, but of course the team. So she got the contract extension, and it is well-deserved. She was a lethal part of the offense, a very fun player to watch. On set pieces, Claire Emsley would drop a pass on a dime. It was a thing of beauty. There's players that I've seen in Major League Soccer that didn't have her ability to connect off a set piece. So she had a major season, and I'm glad that she's going to be back in the City of Angels.
Yeah, and with the goalkeeping pretty short out with Didi Hericic, I think the Angel City, they're just a few players away. We talked a little bit about it last week. They're going to get a healthy June Endo back. And June Endo, before she suffered that devastating injury in preseason, early on, I think that June Endo is going to come in and really lead this team to places that they haven't really been. What do you think about that? And we'll get into a couple other things too. So let's talk June Endo for a second.
Look, you might have made a mistake about calling her, you saying industry, but she is an industry. As Jay-Z would say, she's a business woman. She's not a business, she's a businesswoman. Look, June Endo is a great player. A mere 24 years old, and she is a veteran. Spent a couple of years playing for Tokyo Verde Belleza, where she ended up appearing in 41 games, scoring 13 goals. She came over to Angel City in the inaugural season in 2022, has thus far played in 40 games, contributing 4 goals. She's even been a part of the Japanese national team. Now, losing her was a gut punch to Angel City FC because of her quality and her talent and her versatility as well. Operating as both a forward and a midfield, June Endo is not a great player on just the global stage, but clearly on the local stage as well. And not only is she a huge asset to Angel City on the pitch, she's a huge asset to Angel City off the pitch. Her community involvement, her willingness to talk to fans. We had a member of the Empire Strykers staff who took his daughter to Angel City game last season. And when his daughter got to meet June Endo, her favorite player, she started crying, which made June Endo start crying. So it was she's just a beautiful human being. And I'm so thrilled that she's a part of this club, Angel City. I'm glad that we get to see her. And when she's healthy and ready to roll, I think that's going to be a huge upgrade to wherever they decide to put her, whether it's in the midfield or whether she's in the forward spot.
Yeah. So with the unrest in the forest, as it were, in the executive level of Orange County, or of Angel City, rather, I apologize for that. There has been online chatter about what's going to happen with the coach. They did underperform because they had some very high level talent. What do you think is going to happen at the coaching level and potentially even at the higher end executive level, Philly?
I mean, look, if I knew how to predict things like this, then I would own a club and maybe even a league. I don't have a crystal ball to be able to say these things. But what I can say is I agree with you. They have severely underperformed under this coaching regime. And keep in mind that who they had in prior, like this was as a result of a firing. Freya Kum, who bounced on over to another club and actually had a significant amount of success. Not to say that she was a bad coach here in Los Angeles. Look, when I'm getting ahead of myself because it's Thanksgiving and I'm eagerly anticipating pumpkin pie. What I'll say is the following. When you have some of the most important players on your team hurt, it's going to be hard to make up for their losses. So I think she needs to be given one more season to prove herself. If the team underperforms, meaning they don't make the postseason, then we call it a day on the coaching staff that's currently in place. Look, Lee Wynn left early, and I don't know why. I don't know if he found a better job or whether he didn't get along with the coaching staff. But I will stand by the coaching staff for at least one more season, at bare minimum. Bare maximum.
Yeah, I'm right there too, because I think when you do lose the talent that they did, kind of like what Orange County did, you got to stay with that coach until unless they leave on their own. But I agree with you. Keep the coaching staff in place, give them another season, and make sure that they perform well next year. So we've got the Elite Six. We've gone away from the Elite 11 because everybody's pretty much done except the Galaxy. So maybe it'll all be Galaxy next week. But let's talk about Elite Six and what we got cooking today, Philly.
All right, real quick. The reason why we're doing Elite Six, just so you are familiar, we talked a lot about the Empire Strykers today. That's professional indoor soccer, 6v6 or with 5v5 with keepers, however you want to call it. So that's how many players are on the turf for both sides. So that being said, that's why we wanted to utilize an Elite Six based on the lack thereof teams that are competing. So why don't we go into the teams that we're obviously covering? So LA Galaxy and LAFC were the only two to field people. So that's why we chose the Elite Six. Now, sixth attacker comes in real quick just to also let you know. It's 5v5 with keepers. We call it 6v6. But when we have the sixth attacker, that means there is no keeper, right? Kind of like hockey. When you pull the keeper, you throw an extra attacker on there. That's what we're doing right here, just to kind of let you know what our train of thought is. So with that being said, let's talk about this Elite Six. And remember, no goalkeepers. Elite Six, let's do it.
Yeah. So starting off, we've got the defender is Carlos Garces from LA Galaxy. We've got the midfielder is Ryan Hollingshead from LAFC, goal scorer. Joseph Paintstoll comes in at the forward. Dejan Joveljic from LA Galaxy is another forward. Gabriel Peck from your LA Galaxy is your third forward. And Mateusz Bogusz from LAFC rounds out your forwards. So with that, you've got four forwards, a midfielder, and a defender. Your captain this week is Joseph Paintstoll with a brace over the weekend against Minnesota United in their 6-2 drubbing of said same team. Philly, what are you looking at this on this list of six?
I mean, with only a couple of teams playing, I mean, you would be a schmuck, for lack of a better term, not to have chosen Paintstoll, Joveljic, and Peck. I mean, those players were just unbelievable. But now that I'm looking here, even though Ryan Hollingshead scored a goal for LAFC, even though he nearly had himself a brace, I still think what we should have seen in this starting lineup, not as a super sub, would have been Ricky Puig. Ricky Puig was the one to break through so many of these midfield defenses by going over the top and connecting with his teammates. The Galaxy is not this good without Ricky Puig. Are they competitive with a Paintsel and a Peck? Absolutely. But without Ricky Puig, this team does not belong in the Western Conference Finals. Ricky Puig is the straw that stirs the drink, is the Red Bull that's in the vodka, is the whatever comparison you want to utilize. Ricky Puig, I think, deserved to be in the starting lineup. And for those who know, Ryan Hollingshead normally functions as a defender. But with LAFC's 3-4-3 lineup that Steve Cherundolo has thrown out there, Ryan Hollingshead has operated more in that midfield position. For those of you who wonder why or how, keep in mind that at UCLA, he was a forward. So just throwing that out there.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, Hollingshead played well. And with Paintsill getting that brace, getting an assist, he is the captain for this week. And I like the list. I like the list pretty well. So good on you, LA's Elite Six, for the Greater Los Angeles Soccer Clubs.
Yep. And once again, just to remind you why there's no goalkeeper in indoor soccer when you've got a sixth attacker, no goalkeeper. So if you're trying to poke holes at this, I poked you back. That's why we have no goalkeeper.
Yeah. And so thank you for everybody for listening today on this great Thursday afternoon. Right after this show, the podcast is available. Search us Soccer in 60 and all your favorite podcast networks. Catch us on the YouTube. Catch us on the Strykers, the EmpireStrykers.com. You can catch us on Instagram Live. We're all over the place. Terrestrial radio and KMET 1490. Let's go get them, Philly.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, Strykers with a Y. Why? Because we rock. That's why. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. We hope you're spending a great deal of time with your family. Hopefully it's fun. Hopefully it's safe. And hopefully we see you back next week for another edition